This podcast was originally live-streamed on the Non Sequitur Show on YouTube. New episodes air weekdays, Monday through Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/nonsequitorshow. Make sure you never miss a live stream by visiting www.nonsexshow.com/schedule. For the latest news, polls and updates throughout the day, follow us on Twitter @nonsexshow or facebook.com/nonsexshow. That's NONSEQ show. If you'd like to get exclusive content, bi-weekly private hangouts with Kyle and Steve, backstage access to chat with guests after shows hosted on your channel and much more, become a Patreon saint of Non Sequitur. It ensures we continue to improve our show and brings you into the process at the same time. Visit patreon.com/nonsequitur today while the limited spots are still available.
The following podcast is intended for those who believe bold ideas are righteous, unique perspectives are gospel, and strong opinions are sacred. This is Non Sequitur. Never follow. And now, here are your hosts, Kyle Curtis and Steve McRae.
Hey! Did you miss us? We know you missed us. 2 nights without Steve or Kyle. What in the world did you people do? What do you think they did, Steve?
I don't have no idea, and I don't want to know what half of them do.
That's a good point. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's good to be back. We certainly missed you guys, but it was nice to have a couple of days to rest and not worry about the crazy. And joining us back again, definitely one of our favorite people to have on here. We're going to see him tonight in probably, I know a lot of you would probably say that the debates are when he's at his best, but actually when he's talking about the subject that we're talking about tonight is when he's really at his best. So if you want to know how the man that buries creation science does it, he literally wrote a book on it. We're going to find out a little bit more about that. So welcome back, Aron. It's good to have you back here.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to briefly go through what we have coming up, and then there's a situation that I want to discuss with you guys, and then we'll jump straight in. Tomorrow, we have What the If with the guys from the What the If Science podcast. They're going to be with us tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Wednesday, this is a change from Friday, actually. Originally, this show here, the Glowbird versus the Plane model between Red's Rhetoric and Godless Engineer, and the Limitless Channel and Awake Souls. That was going to be on Friday. That has now been moved up to Wednesday because of some scheduling conflicts that we had to work through. That's at 9 o'clock, not 8 o'clock our usual time. So that is now Wednesday, not Friday. So Wednesday's show is going to go to Friday, and then Friday's coming up to Wednesday. Thursday at 2 p.m., we have Cosmic Skeptic and Dr. Alex Malpass. They're going to be discussing Cosmic Skeptic's recent videos on objective morality, and that's going to be at 2 p.m. because they're across the pond, so we don't want them up at 3 a.m. talking about objective morality. That wouldn't end well for anybody, especially Steve, because Steve would get triggered.
It's never a good thing when we talk about objective morality.
Yeah. And then the last 2 things, next Wednesday, Vadim Newquist and Bunty King will be coming on to talk about freedom of speech. And then next Friday, we finally got this one settled. Adam Kokesh, who is running for the Libertarian candidate for president in 2020. He's also got a lot of notoriety from some protests that he did over the past couple of years. He's an Iraq war veteran. He will be coming on to talk about his campaign and why it's important to stick by your rights. So that's going to be next Friday at 8 p.m. Okay, so I'm concerned about the state that we're in as a human race at times. I thought, erroneously so, that believing that the earth is flat still at this time was probably as bad as it gets. I was wrong. I was very wrong. And I'd like to take you guys through a conversation that I had with a gentleman last night, a very nice gentleman, not confrontational at all. We had a pleasant conversation, but I was in awe at what we were discussing, because there are certain things that you would never think you would ever have to say. Like, the words would never come out of your mouth ever. And I was saying things last night and having a conversation about an issue that you couldn't convince me 6 months ago I would be having. So let's begin with his first message. This was in reference to this guy coming on, and we're just going to briefly cover the big screen here so that you guys can see what we're going through. Now, the way that he introduced himself to me was, my opponent, he is an evolutionist. So I'm assuming he's talking about the badly drawn Snoopy. He is going to debate this guy, or he wanted to debate this guy originally. So I said in return, we'll go to the next piece. And what are you? And Dave?
Atheist against evolution, pseudoscience.
Dave, were you going to read his post, or do you want me to?
Atheist against
Right.
evolution, pseudoscience.
I did read it. You couldn't hear me, though.
Oh, okay. All right. So he is also an atheist, but he's against evolution and pseudoscience, okay? So this tells me a little bit about what I'm dealing with, but still I'm not concerned at this point. We carry on.
I don't believe. Oh, wait, you want to do it? You got Dave? You got Dave?
it.
Go ahead.
I got
Okay,
it.
back.
I don't believe in viruses either.
We practice this for days.
Now, I was in a state when I read this where at first you read it and it doesn't register. But then that sinking feeling kicked in. And I was like, I didn't read that correctly. I know I didn't. Or his autocorrect is covering a word that he meant to say something else. I know that I didn't read it. It said, I don't believe in viruses either. So I had to clarify. You don't believe in viruses?
I debunked them, ERVs, as evidence for evolution.
Oh, wow. I'm not sure I know what to say to that right now. Because that literally, guys, that blue bubble that you see was literally the realest I have ever felt in text form. Because I did not know what one was to say to another person when somebody looks at you and says, I don't believe in viruses either. It's not a situation that your brain is prepared to handle. Nonetheless, I carried on. Can you send me your sources for viruses being a hoax? I'd like to look into this. So he sends me. Oh, wait.
It went a little bit wonky
Yes.
there, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. A link to a video, a YouTube video, a video that he made himself. So the source that I got when asking for the source that convinced him that viruses weren't real was his own video. At this point, I am confused. I am lost. So I have to clarify.
There is no peer-reviewed paper. No sources. Just a hoax industry. I made a video on it.
But how do you arrive at that conclusion? Now, here's where we're going to get into a weird thing.
But foot
Dave?
fungus made my wart go away.
Okay, I'm crying literally at this point. His next piece of evidence.
When I saw no one know how a cell can make more virus.
Unfortunately, there was another one.
When I saw CGI viruses.
Now, here we arrive at an interesting point in this conversation. It seems to me that those who hold a belief that is way against what we know to be true, there's a link between their beliefs and the letters C, G, and I. If it's flat Earth, NASA is always making CGI images. Always. That's one of their cornerstones. And now we see that is infecting viruses. And that's irony for you right there. But CGI viruses. Okay. There's more. I'm sorry. You're going to have to slow down. My brain is doing everything it can to convince me that this shit isn't really happening.
When viral warfare
and this was his closer, guys.
When viral warfare scared people, viral psyop, it's all about money. I made a video on it, investigate my channel, and get to know me.
Cancer is
a hoax too. Yeah,
Lots of hoaxes.
I'm having a hard time. Lots of hoaxes, but I only cover a select few.
And that's where we ended that conversation. I am horrified, but I cannot, in good conscience, pass this opportunity up to dig more. So he will be with us August the 9th on Thursday to try to get to the bottom of where this stems from. But I'm interested, Aron, in your initial summary of what you just saw there.
I have learned a couple of important lessons. One is, first, never assume that somebody I'm talking to isn't as smart as I am, because maybe, or that I know something that they don't, because everybody knows something that I don't. And so if it turns out that if I assume that person isn't as knowledgeable as I am, and I'm talking going back to when I was a little kid now, this is something I figured out when I was like 8, right? When I'm talking to somebody else and it turns out that they know something that I assumed that they didn't, well, I end up looking stupid. And I figured out at 8 years old. But if I'm talking to somebody and I assume they know they're on the same level, or at least they have at least as much understanding of it as I do, then chances are that's actually going to be correct. And if it turns out that they know more, well, then I'm still in good standing. And if it turns out that they know less, I don't come out looking like a jerk. Maybe they do, but not necessarily. So this is the best stance. I lived off of that for a very long time until it set in me that everybody had about the same level of intelligence that I did, or at least let's say knowledge that I did. And I never considered myself a very intelligent person because I did a lot of stupid stuff when I was a kid. So, but then somebody pointed out to me that I was giving other people too much credit, and said, "What would you take as a point of common knowledge that you think everybody should know?" And we can poll the people in the office that we work at. It was 200 people in that office, and so I said, "Well, the speed of light is a common knowledge thing. I mean, they teach that first year college chemistry. You have to know the speed of light for all these applications. The first week, you have to know the speed of light because it translates into everything that you do." And okay, so everybody should know the speed of light. And we polled the 200 people in the office, and there was only one person in the office who knew the speed of light other than my friend and myself. And that was the admin who ran everything. And I've since then this was before I became an activist. This is before I really understood anything about creation. This is before I ever heard of Ron Wyatt, pretending to have discovered the Ark and all that. So I spent the next few years on this learning curve that people can be really impressively stupid, because I've heard mind-boggling things. I mean, I asked this one person to explain what they think evolution is, for example, and the answer that I got was that the evolution was where one bunch of molecules gathers together to make a man, and another bunch of molecules gathers together to make a fish.
That's legit. Yeah,
what's wrong with that?
Yep.
No, I used to get accused of that all the time. People would always tell me, Steve, you kind of know a few things that the average person doesn't even bother with. And I thought like you, I'm like, well, wait a minute, is it stuff like this basic? I thought everybody knew at least pi to like at least maybe 5 decimal places. I thought that was kind of common. Found I was wrong on that. So yeah, I totally get what you're coming from, because I've had this.
I would have thought that everybody knew pi to 3. Because
I'd take 3. I would be happy with 3.
Yeah, I'm surprised how many people don't know pi.
Yeah. Go find a flat earther that does. I'd be impressed.
Oh, we know a very prominent person in here on YouTube that should probably know that with what they're arguing, but couldn't tell.
Yeah, I have met people.
It's kind of